The Mach-E does have a series of different trim levels that are available. So you've got the Select, the Premium, the California Route 1, as well as the GT. And the GT has either the regular GT or the Performance Edition, whether you're in Canada versus the States. Because in Canada, we can only get the GT Performance. So I'm like waiting for the GT Performance to be available because the power in that thing is ridiculous. It's pretty much a track-ready electric. Not saying that this Premium isn't. This thing is absolutely stunning, especially in this red. I love it. Those like red and black highlights are really, really sharp. But looking at the wheels, the Mach-E does have the option for either 18, 19, or 20-inch tires, depending on the version of the vehicle you're in. Because we're in the Premium, we are looking at 19-inch tire, and it does look fairly sharp. Like, it's interesting looking at EVs and how they all have this different style rim instead. But with the Pony, you know it's there because we've got our Mustang right along the very middle of the rim, so it does pop nicely. We've got these great looking wheel well moldings as well, and body moldings rockers that go all the way across in this nice black highlight. It is plastic, but it's kind of got like a gloss to it that makes it look fairly sharp. And that's the thing, like the colors inside of the Mach-E are absolutely incredible. I love what Ford's done with this thing. Now, there are a few small changes from the 21 to the 2022 model, specifically looking at the range. I guess even looking last year, the range was still pretty good, but you can get over 500 kilometers on a single charge inside of this vehicle now, which is unbelievable. But we'll get to the range in a second. That overall styling inside of this thing is great. Moving towards the front end of the vehicle, this one does have the forward sensing system. Now, when you're inside of the base version of the vehicle, we've got the option for the Comfort Technology package, which will give you a few other things. But one of the great things about the Premium version is it's fairly fully loaded as is. We've got our front-facing camera, side view mounted cameras, and our backup camera, which give us a full 360 view. On top of that, this thing's got the option for Park Assist. So Park Assist, I have put together a video on that one specifically. Those kind of black molding highlights that we saw, it carries through the bottom part of the bumper, even into the part of the hood right above the Pony where that front-facing camera is. So it looks really sharp, and I love all the different body moldings and things like that. Like, this thing pops. And that's really what Ford wanted to drive home with the introduction of the Mach-E. It's the future of cars, essentially. We're looking at the shift from gas-powered into EVs instead, and I think Ford has done a fantastic job, and you've got that brand recognition behind you. Like, Ford's been around for a very long time, and just seeing how these guys have just grown from where they were, like starting with the Model A, all the way up to this thing, absolutely amazing. Charging the Mach-E is also a very straightforward process. So along the front of the driver's side there, we've got our little cutout, pop this thing open, and then we've got our different plugs that are available there. So we've got our top versus bottom. So we've got a 120, 240, you've got the option for supercharging inside of this thing on top of that. Now, the numbers are all over the place, but I'm gonna get to the numbers in a second. Inside, on the actual side that flips open here, we've got another little Pony. It's got our horsepower badge underneath that. And then on the inside here, we've also got a charge indicator light. So how full is the battery? And we can tell that from the outside here, which is fantastic. And one of the amazing things about the Mach-E is that inside of the Sync4 Media Screen inside of the vehicle, we've got the flexibility of being able to set our departure times and comfort as well. So if you're going to be leaving at the same time every day, you can set that so that the cabin's automatically going to be heated or cooled as necessary depending on the time of year. And one of the other amazing things is you can also set up what times you want the vehicle to be charging at different locations. So if you're at home and you only want this thing to be charging between, let's say, 11 o'clock at night and 7 in the morning when you're in your off-peak electricity rates, you've got the flexibility to do that. So it's incredible. Now, looking at the charge times, inside of the Mach-E, we do have a 20-foot cable that's going to come standard, and that's going to support either 120 or 240. So could you technically do just your regular wall outlet? Yes, but like it's ridiculous. Like you're like 95 plus hours to take this thing from 0 to fully charged. Very stark difference for if you're using the level 2 instead, because that home charger includes the option for either level 1 or 2, which is amazing. Now, if you're looking at supercharging this thing, it's crazy how fast it can go, and it is recommended you only go up to 80% using that fast charging instead, and then just charge the rest, that 80 to 100 when you're back at home. But overall, like I said, styling inside of this thing is great. I love how simple the door is for charging up the vehicle. So again, Ford has done an incredible job just on the basic design elements of this vehicle. Getting underneath the hood of the Mach-E is very straightforward. So just to the left-hand side of the pedals, we've got our little release. We're just gonna pull on that twice and we're inside. Now, one of the nice things, this thing is also on hydraulics. So you don't have to worry about putting anything, those sticks and things like that up. It's just up and it stays. And taking a peek inside, I guess we've got our frunk, is what Ford's calling it, and it's our front trunk. And it's interesting because you look at EVs and you don't have much underneath the hood because it's all battery powered. So what Ford's done is they've given us a great amount of space inside of this thing. We've got a little plug underneath, so you could literally use the front end as a cooler. So you're going camping, whatever the case may be, just toss a bunch of ice inside of this thing and you can drain it out later if you'd like to. But this is really nice. We've got a nice amount of storage there. There is a little release in case somebody gets stuck on the inside here. They could maybe fit, but there is a release there. And then we've got our pony badge right along the very top here, which kind of, it pops out nicely. It's got some nice highlights to it on the inside there, which is always a nice thing. Now, I'd mentioned it earlier, if you're not a big fan of maintaining your vehicles, an electric might be the way you should go, because really there's not much you have to worry about underneath the hood. We've got our windshield wiper fluid, and that's about it. Like, there's really not much else other than that underneath the hood here. But I mean, it's fantastic because if you don't like to maintain your vehicles, it's really just the windshield wiper fluid, the tires, and then the brakes that you have to worry about. So much more maintenance free in comparison to your regular gas vehicles instead. All right, taking a peek along our driver's side door. So a few things to point out. You might just be able to make it out there, but we've got a few different numbers on the outside of the door. So one of the great things there is that we can enter in a 5-digit number if we want to unlock the door, but we also have the flexibility of pushing these two bottom buttons if we want to lock the door, which is fantastic. Unlocking, locking, etc. We can also push the button there. You can see it kind of popped open for me. And here we go. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, but we'll get to the inside in just a second. We've got a great looking door here. So we've got nice white highlights. We've got our black leather along the top and a nice metallic highlight throughout the door. White stitching all the way throughout there on top of that, so it looks fantastic. Looking along the driver's side door, we also have a series of seat memory buttons, so 3 individual profiles. We've got our unlock and our lock button, and then we've got all of the options for our windows. So we can power fold our side view mirrors, we can lock out the rear windows, basic side view mirror control, window up and down. We've got our little storage handle, as well as our little release for the door. So this is actually the door handle, so that's how you open up the door from the inside. Moving down from there, we also do have our Bang & Olufsen badge because this specific one has the 10-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system, which is going to be standard inside of the premium version of the Mach E. And then from there, let's brighten you up a little bit, we also do have a little storage compartment right along the driver and the passenger door. Moving along the inside, we've got this Mustang badge right along the scuff plate there, and that's to the driver-passenger side. Looking at the driver's seat, so we do have a few different options there, but we can go forwards, backwards, up and down. We can move our backrest, and then we've got our 2-way lumbar support on top of that. But overall, the seats inside of this thing look fantastic. I love it. But taking a peek just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. So the steering wheel itself is going to be a manual telescoping, so we just crank this down, slide up the wheel as necessary, and then a series of other options on the inside. So we've got our max windshield defroster, figure out what's going on with our running lamps. I always recommend keeping it on this auto setting. We've also got our increase and decrease button, so we can increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen, and then we can also toggle our traction control system on or off. As we move down, we do have our 2 pedals, but one of the great things is that this thing has the option for 1-pedal driving, where we only have to worry about the accelerator, which is great. On top of that, we also do have the release for the frunk, so if we want to get underneath, we just pull this twice in order to be able to unlock. Well, this is really nice. I absolutely love what Ford's done with the Mach E. The seats, first impression, great amount of bounce to it, good amount of cushion. The headrest is super comfortable. And listen to this. Okay, so we've got a 4-way adjustable headrest, so we can go up and down with it, and then we can also lift this thing forwards as well if we need to kind of help support our neck a little bit more. But like I said, comfort inside of this is fantastic. I love it. But looking along the door, I'd already mentioned we've got some great highlights. We've got some highlights that follow all throughout the dash. We've got this like interesting like cloth material across the top part of the dash, which marries the look of the speakers as well. So it's kind of neat. Really neat the way that that looks. And we've got a nice metallic highlight that follows through the door all the way through the bottom part of the dash. Like a nice kind of like weave texture. Like it's not carbon fiber, I don't think, but it's got a nice feel to it overall. And then we've got a split of leather on top of that. But there are so many different things to cover off inside this vehicle. So this is just going to be a quick look at the interior, looking at some basics of the steering wheel cluster and that media screen. But if you're looking for a more in-depth walk around, like you want to know how all this stuff works, check down below for that comprehensive walkthrough instead. But let's look at some of the basics. The stick on the left-hand side is going to be for our high beams, so we can easily, I guess I can start this thing up no problem. Benefits of an electric. So, few things. We've got this great look for the cluster screen, so 10.5-inch digital, and it's got two different views. So we've either got a dark or a light view that we can change out through this middle screen. It looks really nice though, and one of the cool things is that we do also have the option for our navigation to show up in this screen, and it's just going to be the direction, so it's not the full map that's carried over, but overall this thing looks fantastic. The stick on the right-hand side is going to control our front and our rear windshield wipers. And then this one also does have the adaptive cruise control system, so our smart cruise, which is fantastic. One of the benefits of that adaptive cruise system, it's a set it and forget it cruise, but I love the features and functionality. We can answer, hang up a phone call. We've got a volume rocker that we can control from the inside on top of that. And then just the base styling, like we've got our pony badge right along the very middle of the steering wheel. Nice heated steering wheel all the way around, and this leather wrapped wheel feels fantastic. Now the wheel itself is going to be fully adjustable, and it's going to be a manual adjust. So just by our left knee, we've got a telescoping wheel. Click that bad boy to lock it into place, but it's really nice all at the same time. Now one other thing, there's this little black bar that sits right below the cluster screen, so it's right above part of the steering wheel there, and that's got two cameras in it, which essentially is going to watch your eyes, and that's part of Ford's Blue Cruise feature. And that's essentially going to be the hands-free driving that's going to be standard, well, available, I should say, inside of the Mustang Mach E. It's not standard across the entire board, it is optional inside some of the other trims, but what that does is that allows you to drive hands-free. So it's not fully, like, is it fully self-driving? Technically, because we can use the adaptive cruise system, but it's not fully self-driving in the sense you can't be sleeping while this thing's driving. So it does watch your eyes to make sure you're paying attention to the road all at the same time. But it's a fantastic system. Now the vehicle is going to be push button start. It's the same way across the entire Mach E lineup. And then this media screen is crazy. Like 15.5-inch screen of all sorts of wildness. Like I absolutely love the look of this, from all of the different options, like some different drive modes, which are amazing. Like we've got the option to change it to like a quiet mode, engage, or what's called the unbridled mode, which essentially unlocks more performance. So if you're a big fan of true performance, unbridled is unbelievable. Haha. We've also got the option on that screen to change it to one pedal driving, which is fantastic. So if you're a fan of, well, we've got our accelerator and our brake, but one of the cool things is that we can use one pedal driving and we only have to worry about the accelerator. So we take our foot off the gas, I guess, and it's going to slow us down really, really quickly. Like, it's really nice how that system works. We've got the option for a propulsion sound on top of that. So if you want to change out the, well, it's just one sound that's available, but if you like that idea of you put the accelerator down and you hear something, you've got that option. But so many amazing options. Like this thing's got the option for park assist, so it can help us out with parallel and perpendicular parking. We've got some good ones for driver assistance settings. We've got a blind spot system, lets us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. I mentioned for the audio, so we've either got a 6 or a 10 speaker setup. The 10 speaker Bang & Olufsen sounds amazing. And we've got some good options for voice command prompts. So 94.9 FM. Perfect. Now the reason why I just did it is because I've put this thing into advanced mode, so we just won't get as many notifications. But we've got our volume rocker down here. So good. I absolutely love the sound inside of this thing. It's so good. Ford, fantastic job. Bang & Olufsen, amazing job in the sound in this vehicle. But overall, like, this thing looks fantastic. I love what Ford's done with it. The volume rocker inside of this thing is so unique because it's protruding from the screen, and then just the way we adjust it is so neat. I love it. Like I mentioned, there is all sorts of other options. Well, there are other sorts of other options. Let's use proper English there. But we've got things like reverse brake assist. We've got our front rear facing cameras, so a full 360 view. And then we've also got our climate control, which is now built right into the Sync4 Media Screen, which is fantastic. So that's the same as the 2021 model, but a lot more Ford vehicles are leaning more towards this style instead, which I love it. I love the look, the layout, the features, the functionality inside of it. And as we start to move down, so as you can see there, right along the very back, we do have two USB ports. So USB, USB-C. There is a wireless charge pad available there. So if your phone supports wireless charging, as you can see there, we are lit up and we are charging. Now, this is a Samsung S9 Plus, so it's a fairly big phone, but let's use this thing for a second. So we're gonna go iPhone 7 Plus, which is roughly the same size as the iPhone Pro, 13 Pro Max, and there's still a little bit of give take on both sides. So if you had the Pro Max, Samsung S21, etc., it'll be able to comfortably fit inside of the wireless charge pad there. And then this whole tray, if we want to, we can also lift up as necessary to clean this thing out. As we move down a little bit from there, we do have 2 individual cup holders, nice carbon fiber look to it, and we do also have this tray that's fully removable as well on the inside there. Down from there, we do have a few other buttons. So we've got our park assist button, so the vehicle can help us out with parallel perpendicular parking. We've got our 4-way blinkers, and then our electronic parking brake. And then we've got our selector switch there to figure out what gear we're in. So we've got our park, reverse, neutral, drive, and then our low gear. So a few different options that are available inside of this thing. Now, one other thing to point out, we do also have, so this tray, just to the other side of the tray, and just to the other side of the tray, you may just be able to make it out there. Let's brighten you up a tiny little bit. Boom, nice and bright. There we go. You can see that we've got another little compartment along the very bottom there. So nice amount of storage space kind of on the top and on the bottom, which is always a nice thing if you need to store some things. There is also this armrest, so we can move that up. It looks like it probably should be like a little jump seat, which is kind of neat, but fur baby maybe could fit, but it's a little tight. There also is this tray that we can slide open and closed, and inside of there, we've got a 12-volt power point. So quite a few power points inside this thing, which is fantastic. Moving up overhead, we've got our auto-dimming rear view mirror. This one also has controls for our lights. We can easily toggle these things on and off. Typical Ford styling. We also do have our sunglasses holder. We've got a business card holder. We've also got the HomeLink system, so universal garage door opener. We've got our vanity mirror that also has built-in lights. And then this thing extends out to block all of the sun. So let me just get you out of the way there. And when I do that, so I'm gonna go all the way down and back. But look at this, blocks out all the sun that might be hitting your eyes. Now, I'm 6 feet tall, and with me 6 feet tall, the seat all the way back, I've got, what's that? Almost 6 inches, like a little over 6 inches of headspace inside of this thing. So 6'4", 6'5", you'll probably comfortably be able to sit inside of this vehicle. Now, with me being 6 feet tall, so the way that I would normally have it set up, so kind of something like this, I still have a good amount of clearance, like 4.5, almost 5 inches of headspace, which is fantastic. Now, one thing, this thing has a fixed panoramic sunroof, and it looks fantastic. Now, that panoramic roof is not standard across the entire vehicle lineup, but it's amazing. So if you're in the Select version, it's just going to be a hardtop instead, very similar to the Fastback Mustang, versus in the Premium, we've got that full panoramic glass, and it opens it up. It looks absolutely beautiful. I love it. I love the look of it. Love the features, the functionality. We've got some basics like our handles on the driver passenger side for the first and second row. And trust me, the power inside of this thing, you are absolutely gonna wanna hang on. Maybe not so much as the driver, but for the passengers, it's gonna really come in handy. Hopping into the second row, so this driver's seat set up for somebody who's 6 feet tall. I'm 6 feet tall, and with the setup the way that it is, I've got a great amount of knee space, good amount of foot space, and with me sitting fully upright, I've got, I'd say probably about 2 inches of headspace up overhead. Because this has the one with the fixed panoramic sunroof, so it does drop it down a tiny little bit. But I mean, at the same time, like if you were a little bit taller, sit inside of the middle seat instead, and you're probably about 2.5 inches of space there. But overall, the styling inside of this thing equally as comfortable as the first row. One thing I forgot to mention up there, the seats. So across the entire Mustang lineup, it is going to be Ford's ActiveX seating material, so it's a faux leather seat. So we're not true leather inside of this thing, but still we've got our synthetic leather, but it feels really, really nice all at the same time. A few different options for colors on top of that, just depending on the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. But good amount of bounce for the seats, which is fantastic. And a lot of the same highlights we saw on the door for the first row carry through to the second. That kind of cloth and looking at the speakers kind of built in there. We've got a few speakers on top of that. Our white stitching looks really nice. Now, a few things feature-wise for the second row. We do have some cup holders back here. And then along both the driver-passenger door in the second row, we've got some space for, you can probably fit a small bottle along the side there. And then we've also got our anchors and tethers. So if you've got front-facing, rear-facing child seats, not gonna have an issue there. So we've got our top tethers in the back, we've got our anchors along the bottom there on top of that. So we could easily put front-facing, rear-facing seats inside of this if you've got kids. But outside of that, some other things to point out. Behind both the first row seats of the driver passenger seat, we've got some pockets there so we can store quite a few things if we need it. Down from there, we've got some base controls for the vent. So we can't actually control what the temperature is back here, but we can at least close off the vents if we want to. Now on top of that, moving down, there are 2 power points. So there's a USB, USB-C. So we've got 2 in the front and 2 in the back. There's a 12-volt power point in the armrest and then a 12-volt power point in the trunk area there on top of that. So quite a little bit of power. Like I said, features, styling-wise, this is great. The seats are super comfortable. This is really nice. Now, the seats are also fixed in place, so we don't have the flexibility. There's no levers. We can't move this thing forwards, backwards whatsoever. But I mean, like I said, me being 6 feet tall, I still got plenty of room back here. Up overhead, I still can't get over this panoramic roof. This is really cool. I love the look of this thing. And then from there, driver passenger side, we also have our holy crap handles, which you'll definitely need if you put this thing into the unbridled mode, especially if you get the GT and go into unbridled. Oh, crazy performance. But we've got our hooks there, driver passenger side in the second row. We've also got some base cabin control lights on top of that. Oh, the back end of the Mach E, equally as impressive as the front end. This one's a teeny little bit dirty, but at the same time, it still looks fairly nice. We've got our sequential LED taillights, which is fantastic as we go, so they're gonna highlight individually. We've got our pony badge along the back, just underneath our backup camera. We do also have our rear windshield wiper, and then this one does have the reverse sensing system. Now, the reverse sensors, I guess technically they will be standard regardless, which is fantastic. So backing up, we've got that beeping, but if that drives you nuts, you've got the flexibility to turn it off anyways. Now, I did mention it earlier, this one does have the forward sensing system. The forward sensing system is part of the comfort technology package in the select trim level, and then it's going to be standard when you get into your higher trims. But overall functionality is fantastic. We do have our power liftgate. Let's have a peek inside. All right. So cargo dimensions for the vehicle are going to be showing up. So as you can see there, we've got a 60-40 split. So 60 on the driver, 40% on the passenger. So we can easily fold these things down if we need to. Now, this is obviously a very stark comparison to just the regular Mustang. Like, that thing has a good amount of trunk space, but the second row, you're not really gonna be able to fit people inside of the second row of a Mustang unless they're shorter than like 5'6". That's kind of like the sweet spot. But it is nice that inside of the electric, we have so much space because we can easily fold these seats down. Like, you could reach it from the back here and just kind of push down there, but we've got a nice split. So 60-40 split there, as I mentioned, so 60 driver, 40% passenger. I did lock the doors, which is why that didn't go down. But look at the difference there when we've got that second row fully folded down. So nice amount of width, depth, and height to the trunk area. And like I said, we've got the option of folding down one side or the other if we absolutely need it. A few other things to point out. The left side of the trunk, we don't have anything back there. So there's nothing, there's I guess technically a tiny little storage space along the left-hand side, but nothing else other than that. Along the right side, we've got our little pony badge there, so a little light. There's a 12-volt power point there on top of that. And then we've got our removable tray. So this is just the regular carpet liner. So it's gonna come standard inside of the Mach E, but we do also have the option for a thermoplastic rubber tray instead. So if you're a bigger fan of having that rubberized tray, you can do that at time of ordering from the factory, or you can do it aftermarket instead. But we've got this tray, fully removable. And with this thing removed, there isn't the option for a spare tire inside of the Mach E whatsoever. But we do have our inflator kit off to the left-hand side, and then we've got our charge cables off to the right. So I did mention we do have this 20-foot cable that's going to come standard from the factory. You've got the option as well for different charge ports and things like that when you're at home. But if you're looking for some links off to the different charge station options for home, check down below because I have put together a few links that you can look at if you want a home charging station versus just relying on this cable instead. Also got this little button along the very top, and that's going to be the one that we can use in order to open and close the liftgate, which is very nice. Now you've got some different options for the liftgate depending on the version of the vehicle you're in, which is fantastic. And then you can make it out. We've also got this cargo shield. So cargo shield, easily removable. We've got some pieces along both sides there. And then there also is a little kind of release along the bottom there as well. So we just pop all these things out in order to easily remove that cargo shield. But it is nice because we can protect anything, or hide some things, I should say, that might be in the trunk of the vehicle. If you enjoy the content though, if you enjoy this format, give it a thumbs up, share it with your social networks, and comment down below. Let me know if you like it, if you hate it, if you want to see something different, or if you want a different type of car reviewed instead. If you are also in your region, GTA in Ontario, you want to meet up, or if you've got a unique car, something different that you want me to shoot, reach out. All my contact information is down below. More than willing to talk you through any issues I may be having. I'd love to collaborate with different creators as well. But if you enjoyed this video, thumbs up, share it with your social networks, and think about subscribing. And until I see you next time, take care.